Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Bitcoin, see what's going on, of course, help understand best practice and big picture in this unique environment that we're in right now. It's obviously a little different than usual, but yesterday was par for the course too. We had some profit taking. Makes perfect sense. They do this all the time. Greed is real. So we're going to take a look at that and much more, of course, help understand, once again, best practice and big picture. So if you are new to the channel, excuse me, I would like for you to consider becoming a community member. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below if you want to become a better trader. A lot of folks are coming over here now based on the way that things are, trying to maximize their benefit, and it makes perfect sense. So looking forward to working with you. I have a trading community, academy, and signal group. Link in the description below. Also discounts for third world countries and military alike. So feel free to message me if you have questions. One last thing, make sure to use the comments section below to get my contact information to ensure that you get the right info, because unfortunately there's a lot of scammers out there. I'll never message you directly. Okay, I'll respond, but I will not message directly. Okay, please understand that. I will never solicit you. So take a look here at Bitcoin. Big picture, yesterday was very sensible. Granted, it was more than we were expecting, a lot more aggressive than should have happened, but we're seeing a nice recovery here so far today. Again, not a strong recovery, but generally speaking, consolidation at that price point of 30,000. Very standard stuff. The thing I'm happy about is that our low yesterday is still higher than previous lows, so we're still effectively creating higher lows. So unless we can kind of come down below 28,500, we should be in good shape to see this leg to stand on to continue going higher. All right, so we'll look at that, of course. Now, let's go ahead and reiterate some obvious here. Taking a look at the monthly, we can see that we're below the 20 and above the 50. Notoriously, that takes about 6 months to come to fruition. Again, when I say notoriously, back in 2018/2019, we had a time frame in which the price dropped below the 20-day SMA. It stayed below for 6 months, and it bounced off the 100. Correction, the 50. It bounced off the 50, which is this guy right here. Okay, so we should expect or anticipate the price to come potentially lower to about 22,000. That's a probability. Is it a likelihood? It's honestly a flip of a coin right now. We don't know specifically. Even though it did that in the past, doesn't mean it's going to do it again. But a lot of times, trading does have a tendency of repeating itself. It's patterns, and they're more likely to happen than they are not. Right? So 60-40 might be a good statistic, but once again, 33% of statistics are made up on the spot, right? Okay, so taking a look here at the weekly. Obviously, it's still an early week. We have a potential gravestone doji candle forming, not great, but once again, still very early. The week is not over yet. So just keep in mind, it is the first green week so far out after 9 weeks straight. So this is week number 10 since our last green candle, and we could see some attempt at recovery here. Again, it's not over yet, but generally speaking, that's more positive than negative, even if it were to close at that specific price point, because it does tell us that we have a little bit of recovery, I guess you could say. Now, relief rally, that's still yet to be determined. I do think that what we saw on Monday was complete manipulation. Obviously, the price went up, and it came down the exact same level. Let's actually take a look at that here in just a moment. But to touch on the 1 day, first of all, if we look at this here, of course, we saw the 3 green days followed by a doji candle. When you see 3 white soldiers followed by a doji, that's almost always a sign the price is going to come down. Now, once again, 30,500 established itself as a good, strong resistance level previously, right here in this range, and unfortunately, it didn't hold as a support yesterday. So we took a long position expecting it to bounce off 30,500, and it came all the way down to like 29.5. So thankfully, we adjusted the stop loss effectively, and we're still in that trade. I think it's still very likely to hit its target. But again, these are things that happen with long positions right now. Okay, so be of course, very, very careful taking long positions, more specifically with leverage and or altcoins right now, because altcoins got hammered super hard yesterday. And that's just kind of par for the course right now. If you're going to be investing in altcoins, you got to be very, very careful. Okay, so just please understand that. Now that being said, taking a look here, of course, at Bitcoin. Let's look at the standard stuff. We can see we got the rejection off of 50 on the RSI. Granted, it did kind of stay above 50 for a moment. It was like 51. It's still a rejection. So that does kind of reiterate the fact that we have a strong resistance level there, which is right at about 31,800. So 31.8 was a strong resistance level. All right, so that being said, 31,800 is something we want to kind of make sure to pay attention to moving forward, which is why we set our profit targets at in the low 30s and the mid 30s, because of the fact that 31,800 is essentially one of those cases in point where we could very well see another rejection. But good news is RSI does have a tendency of inevitably being broken. It doesn't mean we're going to stay under 50 on the RSI forever, but we have been under this for a good 2 months solid, and that's unfortunate, but in the same accord, it is what it is, right? We just kind of got to deal with that. But that's essentially where we're at. We're also kind of hugging the 20-day SMA. So the price came down to bounce off the support level of 30,000, as well as the average 20-day moving average at 30,000 as well. So that's kind of a nice sign here, kind of letting us know that 30,000 should be the bottom now, at least tentatively, on this little trend. Okay, and when I say little trend, I don't think we're going to see monstrous scores here, but I do think that we might even see 33, 35, or 37,500 retested, and that's a possibility. And that's what these lines are here too, right? 33, 35, and 37.5. So just be mindful that those are 3 key level resistances that we could see some turbulence. But until we get back up over the 50-day SMA, we really don't have any type of strong consideration for upside. And keep in mind too, the 50 works concurrent with this trend line here, right? So the price comes up and keeps getting rejected by the trend line, which we've seen happen time and time again, then we're going to experience a continuation of the downside. That's more likely going to happen. But once again, we're not there yet. We could very well see some push to the upside here in the relative near future, but I do think it's likely the price will continue to progress lower overall in the general sense of things. Okay. So again, just be cautious with your long positions. And to touch on dollar cost averaging too, I'm going to make some dollar cost averaging videos here soon, so pay attention for that. But ultimately, for DCA targets for your altcoins, you want to set those targets just above key level resistances or support levels, Fibonacci retracement lines. There's a good way to approach that, and I can kind of show you what I mean by that here soon. But if you're going to dollar cost average into Bitcoin right now, it's not a terrible time to do it. Even though we are expecting the price to come down, put small amounts into it. I mean, a lot of folks, including myself, just invest weekly or bi-weekly and just keep averaging their price down. The best time to invest is when the price is moving down, not up. All right. I know it seems weird and it seems like your whole entire portfolio is just slowly dissolving, but the likelihood of Bitcoin being back up over 70,000, 6 figures, is very, very realistic and very likely based on supply and demand. It's just a matter of time. So I know it sucks right now that a lot of folks are getting hammered, but there's definitely a silver lining. All right, so taking a look at the 4 hour, this is kind of what I wanted to show you here. Take a look at the line here. We can see this instant push up here from the bulls, of course, kind of push the price action higher, ended up reversing itself almost completely. So if you see, there's like almost a line here where the price was getting rejected, blasted through, and then of course come back down. So like this bar right here is exactly the same as this right here. So it's almost guaranteed they're the exact same players pushing the price action higher and pushing the price action lower. Once again, the greed is very real. So please understand that. They get us to buy in on a nice holiday weekend, and then of course they sell off whenever they feel like. I was expecting a stronger sell-off closer to Friday. That's usually the ways in which it works. But they surprised us yesterday with a nice strong sell-off on Wednesday. So whatever, hump day didn't really work so well. We move on, right? And that's kind of what's happening right now. As you can see, the price is kind of moving higher. I do expect the price to kind of at least continue itself. And what I mean by that is just that we are making higher lows technically. Okay, so until this next low is lower than this right here, 28,500, then we do still have a leg to stand on for this continuation of the upside. So that being said, with us getting a nice consolidation at 30,000, I like the fact that we had that and the fact that it's continuing higher. That's why I'm not worried about our long position that we have right now, because it feels like it wants to recover and continue higher. It just feels a lot different than this previous territory here. Okay. Granted, unfortunately, the greed is real, but we could very well and should very well see the price, retest that level, 31,800. I think it's a strong likelihood at this point. That said, on the 4 hour, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the moving averages. It really doesn't tell us too much except for that fact that we're under the 200. That's the main one that I try to pay attention to the most on the 4 hour, and that is effectively that resistance level that we're seeing. Okay, so it's in some ways synonymous with this trend line on the 50-day SMA on the daily, which again, they both work very concurrent in a lot of ways, because if you do the math, they're pretty close to the same average. That being said, we're looking here at this point to I would say, likely increase from here. But once again, we have a resistance shelf at 31,800. We're going to need to pay attention to that. So MACD, of course, here is kind of shifting a little bit. We can see that we have the bearish momentum is waning. Very good sign. Obviously, it's going to take a little while for this to intersect, so to speak, if it were to. And even if it doesn't, that's perfectly fine. We may actually experience, a higher, basically what it would be a lower high, and then possibly followed by a higher low. Okay, and ideally that would be what we want to see to complete this type of wedge pattern to inevitably get a breakout to the upside. That's essentially what we're hoping for right now. So again, build a nice solid foundation at this previous key level resistance, now a support, and effectively break through the 31,800 resistance shelf that we have, but a retest a couple of times between now and then would be adequate. All right, so just be prepared for the price to probably just jump up and down for a little while and to possibly break out once again to the upside. That's, again, the hope and the prayer almost, right? And I know you don't want to hope and pray in trading because it's never the right way to go, but sometimes you just kind of gotta wish for the best, I guess, or more so just keep a positive mindset. That's really what I'm trying to get across here, because we don't want to just be hopeful and mindless. We want to make sure that we are on the right track there. Here's one thing to understand too also, and this isn't super definitive because once again, the smaller time frames, the less likely the reliability is on the resistances for 50 on the RSI. Because once again, we come up over 70, it's common to see a correction. There's no surprise there. But when we're at 50 and we're testing 50 on the 4 hour, that could also be a potential resistance. So we could see some resistance here, right at the price point of what, 30,200, 30,300. If we can break up above here, that'd be fantastic. And then we can kind of push up to 70 and get closer to this resistance level, okay? So again, just something to kind of think about there, but I would not be super worried about the RSI on the 4 hour right now because it's really just one of those things that's, it's not like a huge problem, you could say. And now, when we look at the 1 hour, hopefully when it pulls up here for us, we can go ahead and see some specifics a little more so regarding the price action previously. And again, you can see, of course, this strong push upwards here, as well as a secondary push. I believe we had high volume, but again, it's taking its sweet time here. Apologize for that. And yeah, just generally speaking here, on the 1 hour, we did lose the Ichimoku cloud. I know it was pretty much right at this point here. And when I mentioned that, it's recommended to wait for either the breakthrough or the breakout to effectively help us understand kind of where we're at. Now, we'll have to probably take a look at this a little bit later, granted the simple fact that it's taking a sweet time. Are we good? All right, we're good. Fantastic. So, so what I want to get at here and kind of show you, if it gives me the opportunity, we'll pull up the cloud here in maybe a couple of minutes and see what I'm talking about. But yeah, you can see, look at tremendous amount of selling pressure here, of course. But the thing that I like is the fact that we have this candle wick down here, essentially telling us that we could see a reversal. It's like a hammer down. And we have a large amount of volume. Okay, when you see a large amount of volume and then a candlestick trying to close like that, it tells you that there's a tremendous amount of buying and selling pressure at that specific price point, which is why it consolidated further here and now it's legging up again. We can even see a second attempt when the market opened here today to try to push it down below that price action, and the bears are unsuccessful. Bulls are like, no, we want the price to be above 30,000, not cool. All right, so again, good stuff there, good signs there based on that strong volume push, as well as a follow through with the bulls, you could say, or green candles. It really helps us reiterate the fact that the bears are losing their control. Okay, so they try to push it down further, they can't. 30,000 is essentially the established support. All right, so that's very, very good. But here's the key takeaway: we are still underneath the cloud, of course, and that really just tells us that you don't necessarily want to open a short position at this point because obviously the lagging span's intersecting with the price action. But with the conversion line being below the baseline, etc., we still don't have any green lights for a long or a short position. Now, logic would tell you, or most people would logically think that taking a position now, because it's going to go up, is likely. But again, that's not confirmation. You want to wait for confirmation, and we won't have confirmation until we see 30,850. Okay, so again, just something to kind of think about that. So these are not nothing set in stone, of course, but it does feel like the price wants to kind of stay above 30,000. We've confirmed that. We can see that all the volume that pushed the price action up has been taken here as well. And this increased amount of volume on the way down is a good sign, telling us that we have more buying pressure at those lower price points. Okay, so again, I think 30,000 itself is effectively creating itself as a very, very strong volume profile, and we can really just kind of use that moving forward to effectively understand that, hey, the price shouldn't go much lower than 30,000, at least not in the immediate future. I would say there's a lot of other things that will need to happen for that to occur, as far as the price action going, sub 27,000, for example. which again, we are anticipating based on previous data. Is there guarantees there? No, we could very well be at the bottom here. I'm not saying that we're at the bottom based on what we just saw, but I am saying that the tentative bottom, the shorter time frame, we can tell that the price action is wanting to go higher and we're making higher lows. All right, higher lows to me is much more impactful than higher highs. I'd like to see that better. So again, all well and good that this happened. It's very much standard stuff. You should get used to this. Unfortunately, it's just the way that they do it. But moving forward, you got to understand we've got a strong amount of volume profile here in this range, right between 29 and 30,000. And right now, 30,000 has proven itself to be a nice, strong support. So I would anticipate in the next 24 hours, we should see a slow increase over the next 24. Friday might be a different story. We may see some profits being taken, especially if the price comes back up to retest these kind of levels. So I wouldn't expect, amazing things from Bitcoin, but I would expect or anticipate the price to kind of hold above 30,000 for the moment, based on what we've seen here so far in the recent past. Higher lows is a very positive sign, and that's what I like to focus on for the moment. So again, we're looking okay. I would say overall, in the general sense of things, not terrible. Obviously, it could be better. We shouldn't have had this. Honestly, the price should have came down and bounced off of this key level support. I mean, you see 30,500. That should have held as a support. But unfortunately, it didn't, and that's just kind of the way that this works here. That's why you kind of got to stay fluent and make sure that you keep your stop losses loose enough, and also be willing to adjust them if necessary, depending on overall circumstances. So again, it's never great to want to have to go and do that, but it is something that you kind of have to do sometimes. All right. Regardless of that fact, I hope you learned something here today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I do look forward to work with you in the future. Of course, if you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below, and I do look forward to getting to know you. Thanks again for your time, and to all my current community members, of course, for continued support and obviously the wonderful feedback. I'm happy to help you out. All right, thanks again. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.